today on What the News. A Willy Wonka themed event in Scotland leaves parents fuming as they paid for a chocolate factory and got chocolate fuckery. An Argentinian man has his live rounds turned into blanks when a hospital botches his gallbladder surgery. And a Missouri man voluntarily has his legs cut off, but then is convicted of insurance fraud when he's unable to walk police through the details. You see what I did there? So grab a seat and get comfortable. I have 7 brand new stories that'll make you wish the earth really was flat so that we could make these idiots walk the plank. Stay tuned. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to a new episode of What the Fuck News. I am your host, Craig, and this is your source for the top WTFs from around the world from this past week. And if you haven't already, please don't forget, like and subscribe. You'd definitely be doing me a favor. So without any further delay, let's jump into this week's What the Fucks. Parents lured to an immersive Willy Wonka experience by AI-generated advertisements showed up to the event expecting this, but instead got this. Willy's Chocolate Experience, which debuted on February 24th in Glasgow, Scotland, was advertised as a fully immersive experience and promised a day of pure imagination and wonder, as well as a paradise of sweet treats. The advertisements claimed the space would have an enchanted garden, an imagination lab, and even a twilight tunnel. Instead, the children and their parents were greeted by a mostly empty warehouse with an AI-printed background, a worn-down bouncy castle, some ghetto-ass props, some store-brand lemonade, and literally one jelly bean for each child. Ew, a jelly bean of all things? And seriously, look at this. This looks like something that a predator would build to lure children in. Fuck, we should have just gone to Chuck E. Cheese. Jenny Fogarty, who was hired to play a Wonkadoodle at the event, which was their version of a Oompa Loompa, said that she was given a 15-page script to memorize the night before the event, only to arrive the day of and be told that they would just be improvising. You know, because that's easy. On top of that, her and everybody else's outfits arrived an hour before the event was supposed to begin in Amazon boxes. Now, although she had realized that most of the staff that was hired for the event were female, they were not told that they were going to be wearing the sexy version of the Oompa Loompa outfits. As you can imagine, the parents were absolutely furious, as they paid the equivalent of $45 American to get this cracked out version of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. The event was immediately canceled upon opening due to the reaction of the families in attendance. But this caused even bigger issues, as no notifications were sent out to the families that were on their way, and unfortunately they were not made aware until they arrived and were greeted with a cardboard sign saying that the event had been canceled. Many of the families came from hours away, so not only are they demanding refunds for their tickets, but now they're demanding refunds for the travel costs as well. To nobody's surprise, police were even called to the event. Billy Cool, the director of House of Illuminati, the company which created the event, blamed the disaster on holographic technology not arriving on time for the event, claiming that had it been on time, the event would have looked like the advertisements. But that doesn't necessarily explain the Sam's Club lemonade and the lack of candy that kids actually want to eat. Jelly beans? What the fuck? Refunds are being issued to the families and the company has apologized for the disaster. But let's take a second and appreciate this one picture that seems to encompass everything that was this event. Somebody call National Geographic. I think we have our 2024 picture of the year. A couple in Kentucky may have officially gotten married in the shittiest place possible, a gas station bathroom. The pair said "I do" inside the men's bathroom at the local hop shop on Valentine's Day in Verona, Kentucky, where the bride is also an employee. The bride was quoted as saying, "I wanted something a little different. I didn't want to get married in just a typical chapel, or just go to a church. I wanted something that I could tell my kids. But personally, if I was her child, I might want to grow up not knowing that." Now, they don't have hop shops where I am, but from what I've read, they're known for their out-of-the-ordinary bathroom that can be turned into a disco-like light display at the touch of a little red button. But this is actually what spurred the bride's decision. Now wait, hold on. I understand that she thinks the lights in the shitter are cool, but does she not think that maybe they could get those same lights just somewhere else? I mean, they could probably find them at Spencer's, and they could have her wedding somewhere where the standing room isn't taken up by toilets. To each their own. Just curious. The bride made her own aisle in the gas station, leading to the ceremony space, which was reserved with a sign saying, "Disco bathroom wedding in session. Sorry if any inconvenience. Free pop on us." Instead of ending their vows with "You may kiss the bride," the two got to press that big red button, and "Forever and Ever, Amen" by good old Randy Travis played. The groom was quoted as saying, "I ain't never been in a gas station bathroom where you can push a button and disco lights come on." An Indian weightlifter ate 39 coins and 37 magnets because he believed zinc helps in bodybuilding, right? Yes, sir, you are correct. But that's not how this works. He believed he could absorb the zinc from the coins and thought that adding the magnets would speed up that process. So I can take this money and I can buy some zinc. Or I can eat this money. After more than 20 days of abdominal pain and vomiting, the man finally took himself to the emergency room. The coins and magnets had caused intestinal obstruction in his body, prompting an immediate surgical procedure. The surgeons noted that the magnets and the coins had lumped together into two separate loops within the small intestines, with the magnetic force leading them to lock and cause an erosion along the intestinal wall. A large amount of metal had made its way inside the man's stomach as well. Luckily, the doctors were able to remove the metals from the man's intestines and his stomach, and after 7 days in the hospital, the man was discharged. An Argentinian man walked into a hospital for a gallbladder surgery, but walked out with an accidental vasectomy. The 41-year-old was scheduled to have the surgery on a Tuesday at the Florencio Diaz Provincial Hospital in Cordoba, Argentina, but unfortunately the surgery was postponed to the next day due to unforeseen circumstances. Well, unfortunately for our patient, Wednesdays must be vasectomy day at the hospital.
Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh?
Because on the day of the surgery, hospital staff came into the patient's room, laid him on a stretcher, and without asking him a single question or even checking his chart, they took him into the operating room. And then even the doctors within the operating room didn't check his chart either, and then they successfully turned his 9 into a Nerf gun. The surprising news was broken to the man after he awakened from his accidental procedure, but unfortunately, he didn't have any time to react as he needed to prepare for his originally planned surgery. After awaking from that surgery, obviously the man was looking for some answers. But the man's frustrations only grew as the doctors only went back and forth blaming each other and then claimed that he was being overdramatic of the situation. But I'm not sure if you can call that overdramatic, as the man was told that reversing the vasectomy was not an option. This was sad news for the man, as he had recently gotten into a new relationship and was hoping that in the future he could start a family with his new partner. But when this was brought to the attention of the doctors, they simply shrugged it off and reminded him that artificial insemination would still be an option. Obviously, the man is suing the hospital for turning his baby maker into a prop gun that only shoots blanks now.
Pew, pew, pew.
Fortunately, the malpractice scandal has gone viral and has swept across the country of Argentina, so I don't see a good ending for these doctors. This 70-year-old man, who holds the Guinness title for the most Big Macs eaten in a lifetime, added to his numbers by eating an additional 728 Big Macs in 2023. Now, for anybody curious, I've already done the math. That man eats 2 Big Macs every day. Now, even though that sounds absolutely bonkers to me, that's nothing compared to the 9 he used to eat daily when he discovered his new obsession in 1972. What the fuck? His overall number now stands at 34,128 Big Macs. Now, I'll throw myself under the bus. My first assumption is that there is no way in hell that this guy's married. But I guess I'm the jackass, because that's not true at all. But does anybody want to take a wild guess where he met his wife? You guessed it, at McDonald's in 1973, where at that same McDonald's 3 years later, he proposed to her in the parking lot. The man even ate a Big Mac before the start of their wedding ceremony. Now, from 1973 to 1981, he did promise to eat 1 meal a day that did not include a Big Mac, simply to appease his mother because she was worried about his health. But after years and years of the man's primary diet being Big Mac and no negative effects being observed, he relinquished that limitation and has eaten primarily Big Macs for the past 50 years. But to my surprise, the man's actually incredibly healthy, weighing only 190 pounds with a cholesterol level of 165. Now, for those of you not aware, which included myself, anything below 200 is actually considered good. He claims that his key to staying healthy is ditching the fries, but walking 6 miles a day as well. He says that immediately after trying one in 1972, he knew that he was going to be eating these for the rest of his life. And he has even kept all of the receipts in all of the containers. He did say that he tried a Whopper back in 1984, but he was not impressed. Well, sir, neither are we. But now, since the man is retired, he says he buys his Big Macs in bulk, so he limits his trips to McDonald's to only 2 a week. But I believe it's time. This man needs to be introduced to a cheesy gordita crunch. A man in Missouri attempted to commit insurance fraud by paying somebody to cut off both of his legs and stage a tractor accident to cover it all up. Yeah, you heard that right. The 60-year-old man from Willow Springs claimed that he had lost both of his legs after suffering an accident with a brush hog. Now, unfortunately for him, but fortunately for us, he left a few potholes in his story. Now, first off, the man's legs were cut off pretty cleanly, but this is a brush hog. And let's just say if you get into an accident with one of those, it's not going to be a pretty sight. We'll just say it would be about as clean as trying to cut a straight line on a piece of paper with a blender. Second, the man's legs were absolutely nowhere to be found. Well, they were found later, but we'll get to that. But lastly, the man is a known paraplegic in his lower extremities. So accidentally wheeling himself into the middle of a large field in front of a brush hog was very unlikely. So what really happened? It seems that the man had called up his friend from everybody's favorite state, Florida, who made the trip to the small town to cut the man's legs off with a hatchet, executing the alleged plan to commit insurance fraud. But the man's intentions were sniffed out quicker than a blunt lit in a church. But since the man never actually filed the false claim, Howell County prosecutors did not press charges. Although the sheriff's office considered filing criminal charges for filing a false police report, the man's injuries were so severe that having him locked up in jail would be incredibly difficult. But I think having him lose his legs for absolutely nothing is probably a pretty good punishment. Sometimes it's just nice to have people wallow for a little bit in the recognition of their own stupidity. But oh yeah, I almost forgot. What happened to the man's leg? The dynamic duo of Missouri man and Florida man must have put their genius brains together and simply threw the legs in a bucket and then covered them up with some tires. Luckily, they were discovered a few days later by a relative and turned over to authorities. But for the last story today, I just wanted to take a second and actually call out an upcoming event. Balls Out Bowling is back, baby. Woo! Now, you don't need to be Stephen Hawking to figure out what this probably is, but for the sake of clarity, I'll go ahead and explain. This will be a nudity-required bowling event where you can strike out with your spike out, or if you leave any pins up, you can spare out with your pair out. It will be held at the Craftham Ingram Lanes in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on Sunday, April 28th. The event is for anyone over the age of 18, so whether you're a seasoned pro of the nude lifestyle or just a beginner wanting to experience the majestic sights and smells of a bowling alley in the Buff, this event's for everyone. So feel free to look for me there. I'll be the one yelling the Big Lebowski quotes and doing the helicopter every time anybody gets a strike. Over the line! So I believe that's going to be wrapping up our episode today. As always, thank you so much for everybody that joined. A special, really big thank you if you've made it this far. And if you haven't already, don't forget, like and subscribe. So I look forward to seeing y'all next time, and I hope you take care of yourselves out there. And until then, and as always, peace.